Welcome to another episode of the Hello Hosty podcast. I am today joined by Andy Glynn based out of Worthing, Queen's Road Apartments in Worthing. Andy, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what service it is that you offer?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you a brief intro. I got into property in 2014, and we've got a portfolio we own and a load of other properties we manage, a mixture of long-term rentals, short-term rentals, service departments, HMOs, various things. But it's really it took me a while to sort of I came from a digital marketing background, and the career change sort of took a while to find my feet and find what I enjoyed doing. But the part that interests me the most is the short-term rentals. So yeah, more historically, we've got I'm part owner of a site in SE16, not too far from London Bridge, Bermondsey. That is 21 studio apartments, really serviced apartments that we run as like an apartment hotel, so all short let.
Okay.
And then last year we purchased a property down in Worthing. It's we found to be an up and coming area. It's always been a bit of a sleepier sort of town, a bit of like a little brother to Brighton. But we're finding lots of people are moving there. It's real up and coming. Speaking to local agents, it's kind of not as busy as as Brighton, but a lot of the real nice characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking to open a new Airbnb sort of holiday home. So we found this property that really ticked all the boxes. So that's been going almost a year now, and it's going great. And we actually as we were purchasing that, our accountants had the same interest, but they're not property people. They didn't know where to start, and they asked if there were any more houses for sale. And as it happened, it was a new block, a new development where they'd built 15 flats on the seafront, and then just behind it with sea views, but not right on the seafront, but stone's throw, 2 semi-detached houses. We were buying the bigger one with the sort of roof terrace and real nice, and then they bought the other one, so we managed both of those. So there's 2 listings, and then we made it into 3 listings by combining the 2 houses as a sort of like a parent property.
Good idea.
Bigger groups. So effectively it's 3 listings down there, and then we're looking at taking on another 3 to 5 studios in London this year. So slowly building the short-term rental portfolio.
Right. Okay. So
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Who are your clients? Like, who are your guests down there? Who are they?
It's varied, but it's mostly groups. Because our house is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, house. So it really attracts. It's not cheap on a nightly rate. So it'd be expensive for like a couple or a single family to go there. So what we find is we get a lot of groups of friends. So it can sleep up to 10. So we get groups of friends. We'll get like a family who are bringing the grandparents down, or that's probably our most common. We've had hen parties. So yeah, it's really groups because it's really cost effective. Once you split the cost by 8 or by 10, it's so cheap. But obviously, but you're looking at sort of probably our average daily rate's about 350, 360. It's more on weekends, less midweek. It's much more cost effective.
What's your occupancy like on that property down there?
It's been pretty good. So Worthing, it is quite seasonal. Obviously being on the coast, it does get much busier. It's starting to really pick up from April round to September, even into October last year was busy, and then it got a bit harder. In November was really quiet, bits and bobs in December. We had good
Yeah.
like Christmas and New Year's bookings. It was quiet. So what we've done, I could see the calendar wasn't really filling up for January, February. So we actually put a midterm stay in there. So we've got a guy in
Yeah.
there for 3 months.
Good move.
We've done the same really with both properties.
Yeah.
So the occupants, so we've got 100% now for 3 months. So overall,
Yeah.
we're at about 71, 72%
Yeah.
since, like in the
That's
last sort of
interesting.
9 months.
Because that's interesting, because I was looking at some property down in Brighton before, and then I started looking at the seasonality of it all, and I was kind of like, well, there's a few months of the year you're going to be challenged, so like switching between the short term and the midterm, it's a sensible solution. And it means you can enjoy the summer months. Like at summer, it's booming. It's like everyone's down there, so you can enjoy it. Yeah. So so what's the biggest challenge that you face in business today?
So specifically, let's focus on Worthing, because it's probably the most relevant to this sort of call. It would be like the midweeks can be a lot harder to fill.
Okay.
The weekends will all really go. That's not an issue, but we often have empty nights in the midweek. We were quite fortunate. We had some builders who came to stay last summer, and then I always make a personal touch to contact guests when they've checked in, just to check everything's all right. A lot of the way we run it, a lot of it is automate. We use all the automation tools, but that sort of, you've got to have that human side. So we always sort of check in with guests just to make sure everything's okay and they're happy. And it turned out these guys were builders. They were there for a Monday to Friday. And then he was like, "Oh, you haven't got anything. We might need it again next week. Is that available?" And I had a look, and it was like, "Haven't, but I've got from the week after. We've got some midweek." So, oh, great. They ended up staying for like, it was 8 or 9 weeks, pretty much on the trot, just Monday to Friday.
Perfect. Yeah.
Which was great. Need to find more of those guys,
You
because
know what?
they're
It's interesting you're saying that, because I speak to a lot of people who are in this business, and there's a lot of people in the UK who specifically target tradespeople, and they go real kind of grassroots on their marketing. They'll go and find trades vans outside building sites. They'll give them like flyers, leaflets, business cards. They'll introduce themselves. I have heard about people hanging around outside the budget hotels and doing the same sort of thing with vans there, although that's not not completely something I'd advise, but targeting them on a real kind of not your background is digital marketing, so not on a digital front, but on a completely bricks and mortar front, literally.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
we sort of had that, because those guys were, as it turned out, they were staying at the Travel Lodge for a few months, and then they fell out. That sort of went wrong, and hence they found us, and it worked out really well. So they were driving down from Wolverhampton every week, leaving at like 3 a.m. on a Monday morning, and then leaving Thursday night after work. Or no, Friday night after work.
Perfect for you guys. Perfect.
It was good, but we do need to find some more of them. I mean, it's in some ways it takes away from the sort of quaintness, or like the holiday home Airbnb sort of culture. You become a digs for builders, which was not the idea, but at the end of the day, you want your rooms filled.
When it comes to like winter time, I guess, or like the off season, it's you need them bookings.
That's it. We actually wouldn't want them in the busy summer months, because that's when you want the real holiday makers. But
well, you know who your competition are then. It's Travel Lodge.
Exactly that.
Yeah, that's it. So what do you actually spend most of your time doing as a host?
Well, with all this automation, there's not a great deal to do. I'll be honest.
Picking holidays.
I mean, our cleaners are a bit old school. They didn't want access to the calendar and notifications. She likes everything on WhatsApp, so that's fine. If that's what you want, that's not a problem. So obviously do that. We use a laundry service where the cleaners would do it, but we prefer to have to rent the laundry rather than having to buy new laundry, new linens and towels, every 3 months. We hire it all. So I have to notify them a couple of times a month, but I probably do about maybe an hour a week,
Yeah.
just from a high level managing those
Yeah.
properties, which is great. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Brilliant. Lets you focus on the business, not in the business. That's
Yeah.
the expression, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it pretty much runs itself, with all the automation.
Yeah, well done.
Um,
Automation is king. Yeah. Yeah. It's what most people I talk to in this business talk about: automation. And once you get that right, it
yeah,
means you can focus on growing and you got your time to yourself. Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah.
So one of the things I like to do in this podcast is to ask if you have any like hacks or tricks, tactics that you use that make your life easier. You've mastered automation pretty well. So is there anything that you can share with us that would help other hosts in that endeavor?
I would recommend, we took on Price Labs some while ago. I'm still working out whether they're the best or not. I'd like to get your opinion, because I know there's what are the names of the other
There's a few
ones?
out there. There's a Dino pricing, Beyond pricing. There's
Beyond Pricing, and there's another main one. I forget the name.
Wheelhouse.
Which one?
Wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse.
Yeah,
That's
Wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So I may, because I think, I'm sure they're all very good, and they may maybe one host might find one better than another because they're in a different market. So
Yeah.
for me, it's all about trial and error. So I'm trying Price House for 3 months or so, and we'll see how we get on with it. And I may switch, but yeah, that's it, to automate the pricing, because that was
Dynamic
one thing I
pricing,
was
yeah.
doing regularly. Dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I was doing regularly.
And they do a better job. The dynamic pricing. I mean, from my opinion, I've been doing this for a while, and like about 10 years ago, I gave it a go with dynamic pricing. I'm not going to name them, but the tool that I used, the technology wasn't there yet. Although I knew that the technology should be there because technology can do this. I gave them a go, and it cost me a fortune because they put all my prices too low. I couldn't cancel the bookings, and it cost me a fortune. So I was like dead against it. And then about a year and a half ago, I had a conversation with a guy, and he told me that dynamic pricing tool had increased his revenue by 20%. And I gave it a go, and now I swear by it. Now I'm like, yeah, the amount of time it saves and the fact that it optimizes, it's like, yeah, dynamic pricing, I'm all in. I think it's great. And the technology is there now. I think it's good.
Yeah. Is there one you'd recommend over another?
Well, the one that I use is Price Labs. I had a look through them. Price Labs it's really quite simple to use. It's easy to plug in. Like it's intuitive, and I like the way that it kind of goes through the process of, it looks at market data, comparable sets, which is what I would do when I'm valuing a property. Let's say, kind of trying to figure things out. I'll use the market what they call it, but it's basically the market metrics. They work out. They give you a comparable set, and it will calculate based upon this set what the market's doing, what they predict it will make on historical data as well. But it's also down to the time it saves. You can also do some stuff with it's not just pricing, it's minimum stay. So it will play with your policies. So I can be like, I don't want to sell 2 nights in June, let's say, in an empty month. I don't want to sell 2 nights, but stick that 2 nights on the end of an 8-night booking. I'll take 2 nights then. And Price Labs knows to do that. To alter your minimum stay, to give you like a responsive minimum stay. And I think like those kind of tools, if it's going to save you, I mean, it's not cheap, $20 a month, whatever, but it's like $20 a month versus the amount of time that it will save. It's like, it's a no-brainer.
For me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Good hack, that dynamic pricing.
Yeah, and I like what it can do with the orphan days. So if you've got like a one single day that's vacant between 2 bookings, I've set that now, because we've got a minimum 2-night stay.
Yeah.
But if there's a single orphan night, we open that up, and we have like a premium rate on it. So it's like base rate plus 50%,
Yeah.
and then we'll do a one night, and it automatically, bumps up the price. So it's worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to think about it. It's not like you need to sit there and go, oh, what am I going to do on that night? It's like you can just know that will happen.
Yeah. One thing I've not come across, though, I don't know how you would do this. There probably is a way, but you'd need a hack for it, is to have, because I would be open to one night bookings, because I think you'll attract, some people just want one night.
Yeah.
But there's not enough money in the one night. So what I would want is a single night option available, but it's at a premium rate. So it gets automatically applies, say, plus 50% to the base rate.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take that booking.
Yeah, that's a good
Whereas
point.
I don't know that you can set that. I don't know if,
I
if
think
there's
you
a
need
way.
to set that through the individual platform. Like I know that you can do it through booking.com. You can change the price based upon the number of nights. I've done it with, like, because some villas and stuff we manage. Some villa owners would say to me, like, no, 7 nights minimum stay, and then I'm like, but then we have a conversation. I'm like, but why is that? And it's like, oh, because of the price, the cost it takes to clean them. I'm like, yeah, but if somebody said they'll give you the price, they'll pay 7 nights, but stay 3, you'll take 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can, and so booking.com, I know that you can change the price on, like, if somebody takes 1, if someone takes 2, 3, whatever, you have to go into the platform. Believe you can do the same with Airbnb, but
with Airbnb, well, I guess you could set your base rate, your nightly rate really high, but then on Airbnb, you can then apply like a 35% discount.
That's exactly
for 2
it.
nights
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah. It's a discount. You do discounts as opposed to increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if that causes any other issues with your base rate being so high.
It worked quite well with booking.com. It worked well. We got some good bookings, 3 nights for what otherwise we'd be charging for 6, 7.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite a lot of legwork though, and it's not something you can really automate as well as and it does add a level of complexity. Yeah. So looking back, what advice would you give to your former self when you were starting out?
Probably start a bit earlier. I mean, like, in terms of I could have probably grown a bigger portfolio if I'd have started early, even just doing rent to rent, because we're going to be, these new ones we're taking on this year are going to be rent to rent.
Okay.
Yeah, and
start earlier.
probably.
It's interesting. You're not the first person to have told me that. Start earlier. Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's also a lot to be said for long let properties where you're getting a good rent and you haven't got, I'm not saying every property works for short-term rental, but certainly there's opportunity.
It's interesting.
In the right ones.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do you know it's interesting. You were saying about, like, doing rent to rent. For me, like, the versatility of either, doing rent to rent, doing management deals, doing booking agency, kind of the whole spectrum, offering the whole spectrum has worked in my favor. Being able to sort of have in the toolbox the necessary kind of model that will fit the situation has been quite useful. But it's you mentioned that you have another project that you're working on around the short-term rentals. You want to share a bit of information on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm working on it at the moment, and it's basically to kind of become a bit of an Airbnb coach.
Okay.
To coach landlords or people who are interested in the short-term rental market, or possibly people who are already doing the short-term rental but using a management agency to run it for them, because they really take the cream of the profit at the top, and it's to kind of, for those people, I'd be saying, look, use this automation method. Like, I'll show you exactly what to do. I'll show you a step by step. Do it yourself. Once you're set up, it's quite easy to very easy to manage. Let the software does 99 probably % of your work. And it's kind of, I would call it quite a proven method.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, sort of do it online coaching, selling a
Selling your
course to.
services.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm working on that. So we'll
Well,
see. I just want to give it a go. I think that,
yeah.
so there's certainly people doing that in America. I see a lot of it.
There's a lot in the US. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of it in the UK. I'm sure there are some people.
Well, there's some educational facilities that I know about, like some groups set up that sell education in all kinds of areas of property. But Airbnb is, well, I say Airbnb, it's not Airbnb, it's short-term rental. Short-term rental industry is growing, so that means there's newcomers to the market, and those newcomers want and need education. So you're clearly somebody that understands what he's doing. So you've got some information to share without doubt. So if people want to find out more about you and about your company, Queens Road Apartments, how will they do this?
Well, they can find our properties on queensroadworthing.com and on Instagram at Queens Road Worthing. In terms of the sort of more me, I will be setting up sort of pages for that, but at the moment you find me on LinkedIn. I'm connecting with quite a few people on LinkedIn. I'm really learning about the power and yeah, I've never been a big LinkedIn user until very recently. I'm starting to connect with a lot of people on there, which is great.
Yeah.
So that's a place to connect.
Yeah. It seems like a good place for short-term rental people, LinkedIn. I've noticed it. There's a lot of activity on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I put a couple of posts on there, and I've had some good interactions off the back of that. So I'm going to continue to do that. So I guess you just search my name.
Brilliant.
On
Andy
LinkedIn.
Glynn. Yeah.
If anyone would like to connect. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, thank you for your time. It's been interesting to hear your story.
My pleasure, Clive. Thank you very much. Been nice to meet you.
Cheers.